go with the first fight then, the Shakur Stevenson versus Floyd Schofield. So Schofield, pretty strong fighter from what I've seen. He's young though. He's aggressive. He's going to make Shakur fight. But is this a step up too soon for Schofield? How do you see this one going?
Yeah, so Floyd Schofield is what I like to call the new wave of like social media boxer. And what I mean by that is that these guys have like kind of got to the front of the line from having a heavy social media presence. It's funny because somebody actually shared him like some of his fights. This was many moons ago from your neck, from your side of the pond. I didn't know nothing about him. It's funny how the world is all connected, you know, into one now. But somebody from London actually was like, "Hey, do you know about this kid?" And I didn't know about him at the time. I was like, "Oh, he kind of fights like Sean Porter, you know, kind of aggressive, overwhelming, somewhat awkward. He's not as awkward as Sean Porter, and he's not as accurate with his aggression like Sean Porter. But you know, there's some similarities there. But yeah, I had learned about him and kind of watched his trajectory and watched him and his father, you know, use the social media Porter to their advantage as they should. And they kept talking until they were finally heard, and now they're getting a shot at a world title. I know in his last showing, you know, he didn't look too well. He got dropped. I didn't make a big deal about him being dropped. I know people like to say, oh, they were exposed or exploited or whatever it may be. Look, these are young fighters, and you can't find me a great fighter that hasn't had to go through some things to get to where they got to the fighters that we would initially know them as. So, you know, I didn't take nothing about it. You know, I think he's wide at times with his shots. You know, he squares up a lot. So, you know, when you square up, you're vulnerable to be squared off on. So, you know, and again, he's growing pains. He's a young fighter that has some potential. You know, just unfortunately, he's just running into a boxing savant in Shakur Stevenson who don't make a lot of mistakes, who do exploit weaknesses. And, you know, I put a post up earlier and I said, you know, Floyd Schofield, he fights in all cap. He uses like all capital letters when he fights. Like everything's loud and it's just like in bold print. And I just think, you know, Shakur is going to exploit those mistakes and those pitfalls. One thing you said coming on, you said he's going to make Shakur fight. And I'm glad that you said that because I think people sometimes forget how boxing works. Shakur is by nature a counter puncher. So if there's nothing to counter, then he's probably not going to counter. He's going to be doing a lot of probing, a lot of clinching, a lot of ring general shit, moving around, stage left, stage right. You know, basically frustrating you with footwork and some other tactics that don't involve throwing punches. But when you got an overly ambitious fighter like Floyd Schofield who leaps, lunges, and always throwing punches, this is going to open up Shakur's offense because now he has a guy, unlike Edwin De Los Santos, who was trying to counter off his counters. So now you just got two guys waiting each other out. Well, he's not going to have to do that in this fight. When you got guys like Shakur fighting against guys like this, that's kind of coming like in a bar of a line from my guy Iron Scribe, like a fighter who's looked like he's shot out of a cannon. You know, he's just going to go straight to him, and Shakur is going to just walk this kid into shots until there's no more walking to be done, meaning that he could potentially stop this kid. And I say that because we all know in boxing the shots that hurt the most are the ones that you don't see coming or the ones that you don't anticipate. And if you off balance, you don't have to be a hard puncher to knock a guy out or down when they're off balance, especially when they're leaving their feet. I just think that Schofield, given the moment, given the situation, given his, you know, limited technical skills, you mix that in with who he's fighting, and Shakur is looking to make a statement because, you know, he knows that he has to have a good showing to be in those conversations that he's trying to be in with the Gervonta Davises of the world. I just think he's going to make a statement against this kid. I just think his style is telling me for Shakur Stevenson. So, you know, but it's boxing. Anything could happen. One shot can change anything. But, you know, but what we know on paper, it's a mismatch in my humble opinion.
So a couple of things there then. So do you think Schofield's style is going to bring out another level to Shakur's game? because he's going to be forced to punch more? And do you also think that because he's under pressure, maybe to put in performance, people call him boring, just say don't fight enough? Do you think that may cause he may make more mistakes because he's under pressure? He puts himself under pressure for this fight.
You talking about Shakur
Stevenson? Shakur Stevenson. Do you think he might feel the pressure to engage more? Because people are talking about his style being. Well, obviously, I disagree with that because we're boxing. We like pure boxing. But people are criticizing him for the way he fights. Do you think he may put unnecessary pressure on himself and get clipped?
One thing about Shakur, he don't fight for the fans. That's the beauty of that kid. Like, he may argue on social media and say he's going to do X, Y, and Z. He's about as disciplined as you're going to get. So while people are booing and wanting more, he's going to stick to the script. So he's not going to change his game plan to try to appease the masses. I know Schofield is in his camp is probably hoping for that, but he's going to let the game come to him. He's not going to go and chase what's not there. Again, he's not going to have to chase anything because Schofield's going to be coming right to him. So everything's kind of going to be laid out to him on a silver platter. Like, it's very rare do you get these overly ambitious guys that's just going to come to you, 1,000 miles at all gas and no brakes. So this is like a counterpuncher's wet dream, like, pause. But that's what it's like. It's just, if you're a counterpuncher and you got a guy who's overly aggressive, who's throwing wide shots from his ankles, and there's not a lot of methods to a guy like Schofield madness because he throws a lot of wild shots. Now, you can overwhelm guys that aren't defensively responsible. That stuff works. But a guy like Shakur or guys that uses this type of style, like, he can see these punches coming from a mile away, and he's going to clinch and be grabbing and spinning and turning. And I just think that this guy is all set up for Shakur, and it's just the timing of these fights. Like, to me, it's a rush fight. But, look, props to his father and his team for getting him this fight. But this kid is not ready for a guy of Shakur's level. He hasn't even fought a top 10 contender yet, and he's going right to the creme of la creme. So, and I just think it's going to show up on fight night. He's going to have probably some moments where it's like, oh my God, Shakur is being overwhelmed. But those who have a keen eye and watch and understand what's going on, a lot of these punches probably not going to be landing. Shakur probably going to be smothering, crowding a lot of it. He's going to be creating space and distance. He's one of the, with the exception of Dimitri Bivol, like, Shakur might be one of the best range distance fighters that we have in our game today. Like, the way he control range and distance, that's going to frustrate that kid. And when these fighters get frustrated, they go to being reckless and they go to being careless. They start leaving their feet. And I just think he's going to just walk him into check shots. How long it lasts, who knows? It could be like that all night, but that's how I see it. But I don't see him going off script, if that's to answer your question. I think the script is the script.
I agree. I think Schofield will probably come out fast, and they'll just take Stevenson a round or two just to adjust, and then he'll just take over and have his way with him. That's the way I see it going.